Morning, everyone, and welcome back to the BISP podcast. It's been a while since we saw each other, and the last time we were joined by Mr. Kenneth Page, the head of primary. But today we're joined by Coach Ollie Bates. Good morning, Ollie.
Good morning, Chloe.
It's nice to see you in a different setting.
Yeah, it is. Normally I see you on the golf course, but
Yeah.
nice to be here.
Yeah, a bit of a change. Anyway, let's jump straight into it. How did you start to love the game of golf, Ollie?
It's a good question. I got into golf quite early, really through my dad playing and my grandfather and other members of the family. And like a lot of pros or a lot of kids that get into golf early, I started caddying for my dad a little bit and then started hitting a few golf balls. And then finally I managed to hit one out the middle of the club. And, and I was hooked ever since. I love the game. Still love it to this day. So, yeah, it was great. So I was very lucky, really, in some ways.
It's a very rewarding feeling when you find that middle center and you're like, wow, I can do this, I can play this game. Yeah, I can relate to that as well. And what do you love about it today? How have you maintained your love for the game?
I think one of the things that's happened is the game has changed so much over the last, certainly in my lifetime. I mean, I grew up playing with old wooden clubs and,
Really?
the old persimmon clubs, and it was a different game then. And then obviously with technology changes and then, all the information we get now, we've managed to evolve with it, A, as a coach and B, as a player, so, we have to use the technology to our advantage. And, now even I can hit the ball quite a long way these days, which is keeps the love and keeps the interest going.
Okay.
So, embracing the technology and moving with the times helps.
Right. And golf is notorious for being constantly up and down. In those times, how do you retain your love and stick with it?
Yeah, it's an amazing game like that, isn't it? I mean, it's like you said earlier, it's one of the most rewarding games, but it can also be one of the most frustrating. And in my opinion, it's definitely the hardest game. So when you get your ups and downs, I think we all accept that we're not robots, we're human beings.
Yeah.
We make mistakes, and we train accordingly. So golf is really about recovering from your bad shots as much as anything else. So we learn to deal with that mentally. Obviously technique, recovery shots. And it's all part of the challenge, isn't it? And the more we embrace that, then the more enjoyable the game becomes as well, accepting these sort of ups and downs, as you said.
Definitely. It's like a metaphor for life, accepting the ups and downs and celebrating your triumphs as well, because when you do get it right, it's a really rewarding, nice feeling. And then it makes it worth putting up with all of the bad days, I think.
Oh yeah, totally. And we get more bad days than good days with golf,
Yeah,
don't we? It's
unfortunately.
just an amazing game like that. Yeah.
And I know that you work on your game, particularly at the moment. Can you tell us anything that you've discovered recently?
Yeah, I've started training really hard again. I was injured for a while, and through the injury, it made me study a lot more on the way the body works, the biomechanics, which has then pushed me into different areas of knowledge as well. My opinion, we never stop learning anything. So, to study again and learn how the body works, certainly, and mentally as well. One thing I've really concentrated on now is moving my body correctly, especially as I'm getting older and, I'm getting a few aches and pains these days. So I have to really concentrate on make sure I'm moving the right sequences, things like that. I find it very interesting, the biomechanics side of the game.
Yeah. So would you say that in any point of our life, it's never too late to bring something on new, and in the context of golf, to try and change your swing no matter what your age, stage of life?
Yeah, totally. I think it's really good that we keep the old traditions of the game. I think that's very important, and I think obviously with the technology we can start to improve players at any age. I mean, I have some students that are in their 80s that still improve, still practice, still play. They're still looking for those extra yards or an improved short game. So it's never too late to improve at anything. The key thing is pinpointing the correct area of improvement and then doing the correct exercises that you need. Everybody's slightly different there.
Right. So, changing subject a little bit, what does an average day look like at the BISP Golf Academy?
Chaotic most of the time.
Yeah,
No.
we can testify that.
We have a lot of students out there,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of ages as well. And one of the things that I love about the BISP Golf Academy is that we teach all ages. You know, our youngest students are in year 2, so you know, and it goes right the way up. So they're 4 or 5 years old, and it goes right the way up to you 18-year-olds. So the you know, the wide range of students we have make it really really good fun. So we have the primary kids out there jumping around.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then we have the intermediates, and then we move into the elite players later on. So it's fantastic the way it's scheduled and the way we operate. I think the more kids we can get into golf and playing and being active, the better. So we try to encourage as many kids to come and try as we can. So it's busy over there, and it's. I think we're very proud of the fact we're getting more and more kids into the game.
Yeah. And do you have a different approach to each age group?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, like most sports, you know, these days we understand the needs of the physical development and so on, and mental. So yeah, I mean, the younger kids train very different to say the older kids, different levels. Depends
Right.
on the tournament schedules as well for the high performance players. So I mean, one of the key things for me is to make it fun as well.
Okay.
I want kids to be out there enjoying the game. You know, I don't want to see it as a hard work and a chore. We want to really get the younger ones enjoying it. Even the high performance players, when they're playing tournaments, the more they enjoy that, the better. And I think it's important we put that across, that it's a game at the end of the day, and we need to make sure kids are really enjoying it and learning, obviously, about how to play and how to behave.
So if I understand right, it's similar how you teach the all age groups in the fact that you want to make it fun, but it's quite different in terms of their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, the level of players require different training,
Yeah.
physically on the ages as well. So we take that into account, and we run various different sessions accordingly. Yeah.
And have there been any successes at the Golf Academy? Any tournament victories?
Yeah, we've had some great players come through the school here. I mean, we've had 2 or 3 players that have gone on to turn professional. Some have gone on to college scholarships. Others are just starting to play the first 18 holes as well, which is equally as important for me. But yeah, many successes. I mean, we've been very lucky here that we've had a core of golfers that have been very strong, and it's been a real pleasure to work with them. And they continue to improve and develop in the golf industry. So there's certain pathways that we've managed to find through the school. So I'm very proud of that. I think we've been very very fortunate, and we've worked very hard to develop them at the same time.
Do you think there's something about the golf program that we offer at BISP that attracts those core of golfers that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think worldwide now, the golf industry has developed so much. I think one of the things we have here on site at the BISP is our golf area. You know, we've got a fantastic short game area.
It is fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which although golfers try and smash the ball and want the distance and want the power, obviously the short game is still one of the most important. I'm a big believer that all parts of the game are equally as important. But if you've got a good short game, putting, chipping, bunker shots off different lies, and I think we're very fortunate to have that in the school grounds,
Right.
so we can always improve. And we notice that with our high performance players, when they improve the short games, the results definitely get better.
Yeah, because essentially the aim of the game is just to get the ball in the hole, right?
Yeah.
Sounds quite simple, but golfers will know that it's difficult.
The lowest score always wins.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
something that we need to remember.
Yeah. And what do you see as success for BISP golfers?
Across the board, I mean, it's nice when you get the success of players winning tournaments, representing Thailand or other countries, moving on to college scholarships, turning professional and competing in professional events. That's one side of it. And then the other side is actually just learning the game, and they have the game for life. So, I mean, some players would be, you know, like a bit like when players start when they're young and they play all their lives, they'll never lose that skill. And that can open up doors in business, social life.
Definitely.
I think it's just a great game for life. So yeah, we have that with players too, which is something that we concentrate on, as well as the success of tournaments.
So any kind of newfound interest for golf is a success to you? in your eyes?
Yeah, definitely. I think Tiger Woods he's just been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I think he's responsible for many golfers playing. You know, when it became very cool back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And then and it seems to be happening again now. I think it's becoming a younger person's sport as well as the old-fashioned old man's game
Yes.
that had that stigma for a while.
We're breaking those stereotypes now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think everyone across the golf industry is playing a part of that. And that's what we do at the school. We're getting more players into the game, into sport, keeping them off their iPads and phones and things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like about that.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's just any kids doing sport, and I think golf's fantastic because you can play all the way through to the rest of all your life.
Yeah.
Right the way until you pretty much can't walk anymore. It's a beautiful game in that respect.
Definitely. Yeah. And on the other hand, does golf nurture kind of discipline in students and adults alike?
Yeah, I mean, I liken it to it is a game for life. We do learn a lot of discipline. You learn to control your emotions. Obviously, the mental side of it's very important for golf. So I think it's a lesson in life. The etiquette's still there. I mean, even if you watch all the younger players, you'll see them when they finish the game, their etiquette is always spot on at the highest level. And I think it's very important we keep those traditions as well. In my opinion, in some societies, that seems to be missing. So it's good that we keep encouraging those kind of old traditions as well. So golf, yeah, it teaches a lot about life, especially, I think we mentioned earlier, accepting the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Golf is a very, very good way to try and stay in the present.
Definitely. It teaches you to maintain that level head, because if you lose it on the golf course, then it's hard to continue on and play, and it might become frustrating. So if you want to keep that love, keep going out onto the course, then you've got to just about keep it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've all seen people throw clubs and become irate, and you see that at the highest level sometimes. It is a frustrating game. So controlling emotions and, the mental side of it's very important.
And what character strengths perhaps suit the game of golf? We're very interested in that here at BISP, our character strengths.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because everybody's got their own sort of personality, haven't they? And we see that in golf. You can get one player that's very explosive and, the heart rate's pumping a bit, and you get others that are really laid back and a little bit like yourself, very calm and very in control. So, and that's something that we can all work on, and I think golf really, really teaches us that, and is pinpointing the weak areas in a mental approach to it that really improves you as a person and as a golfer. So I think it's a really good question. That we're all different.
And do you think that we can access other character strengths that we didn't know we had inside us through golf?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I've had students that have been taking a long time. I mean, the mental side of the game is huge for me. In my experience, I've been in professional sport from a very early age, and my father was a professional footballer, so I've been around top players, top sports people all my life, and it's it's amazing when you see the highest level how mentally strong they are. But they weren't born with that, some of them. They had to work at that as much as you work on your putting or chipping or any other part of your game. The mental side, you have to practice.
Definitely. They're two components that work together, the mind and the body, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. And that really describes golf quite a lot.
Down to a T.
Yeah.
Literally. Pun intended. And you are very interested in the mental side of the game. And have you applied that to your own game? Yeah,
definitely. And I was never very good at that side of it. I was a very sort of aggressive footballer, and I couldn't understand why when I was playing as a youngster, why I couldn't get the ball in the hole and why it was going over there. And we've had to learn that. And then over the years, I've studied it, quite intensively. So I think, golf especially is huge. And it's not just at the highest level; it's at the beginner level as well. Part of the game is understanding how we approach it mentally and how we deal with different situations. So, I love the mental side of it. we see huge progress with golfers when they're prepared to work on that.
Right.
You know, and it's nothing too complicated, but it certainly helps.
And going back to what you said, you've researched a lot about it, or
Oh,
read lots
definitely,
about
yeah.
it?
Oh,
Are
yeah.
there any specific bodies of work that you'd like to reference?
Yeah, I mean, I study a lot. I've done quite a lot of work with guys that are experts in that field. We never stop learning in anything. I mean,
No.
there's always ways to study and ways to improve. That's why education's such a big part of it. Obviously, at the school that helps.
Yeah, definitely.
but
You are at
yeah,
the right place.
I mean, and I study a lot of the top sports athletes and look at the way they've done it. And you can see a lot of them have been through different backgrounds, different nationalities, different experiences. And we can take all this information and we can make it work and adapt it to our students. So there's no set way. It's finding the right thing that works for that person. And I think that's something that you know I've studied, got a lot of experience in now. And we're still learning. You know, we're still improving that all the time. So I try to apply a lot of these methods to students. Some work, some don't. The ones that don't work, then we look at ways to improve that.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, we're all human beings, are quite complex characters. You know, it's our brains work in funny ways, and it's important we understand the way we work and the way we can improve.
So do you mean to say that it's a bit of trial and error to just see what works and what doesn't?
It can be. I think we've got a set plan that works, but I think
Trying new things?
yeah,
maybe?
try new methods, new ways. We never stop learning and studying in that respect. And sometimes it's like coaching golf or coaching a sport. One particular drill might work for one and not for somebody else. So we're continually evolving that and improving.
Okay.
I think mentally, it's amazing now when you look at the top, say, 5 in the world in golf at the moment. They're all under the age of 30, which is the first time that's ever happened. So you're getting younger golfers now coming out that are mentally as strong as the more experienced players.
Yeah.
And they're just walking straight onto the PGA Tour and competing and getting some amazing results. So we can see the mental side is really changing in the game.
Yes.
So it's good to see.
And you've also talked about that with me, about confidence and going onto the course confident and not grabbing a club and doubting, you know, that it's going to go left or right. Or how can we reassure our confidence before stepping out on the course?
Yeah, it's amazing that, isn't it? I don't think there's one golfer that's ever been on the golf course and stood there and gone, oh no, you know,
Yeah.
there's water over there and out of bounds that
Bunkers.
way and bunkers and it's all part of the challenge. I think, I think one way we work on it is certainly practicing that, and you have to practice like you're going to play. I think that's one thing that's that a lot of golfers have got wrong over the years. You know, they practice, but then they get put under pressure on the golf course, and no one's really sure how to deal with that. So we make sure our practices are very challenging. You know, we get used to playing under a little bit of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to deal with it. And obviously experience counts for a lot there. You know, the more you play, the more you get used to that, and working on the correct routines, the correct mindset. Also, it comes into well-being, which we practice at the school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can come into sleep, diet, motivation, things like that. So there's lots of ways we can improve.
Would you say that practicing on the course is just as important as hitting a few balls on the range, practicing technique with certain drills?
Absolutely. I mean, that's where we play golf at the end of the day. You know, you play on the golf course, so the more access you've got to the golf course, the better you can become. Obviously, practicing on the range and short game is equally as important, but you've got to get on the golf course and work on it there. And
because the range doesn't quite represent what the golf course is really going to be like, with different terrains, different lies, maybe.
Yeah, you've got to try and simulate that as much as you can when you're practicing.
Right.
And there's different ways to practice. I mean, you could be working on your golf swing, which is one way, what we call block practice. You've got random practice where you're using different clubs and different targets. And then you need some competitive practice as well, where like I do with you sometimes. And, and quite often you beat me as well. So
if I have somebody else to help me. We're not quite at that stage yet.
we have some good battles, don't we, which is great.
But it makes it fun and engaging. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's all good.
It's really good when you're playing for something, even if it's a forfeit or you know, a piece of chocolate or whatever it is. If you play for something, it makes it more fun, more competitive.
And for all our listeners that are considering playing golf, we might have made it sound a bit daunting, but is golf really that challenging to learn and pick up?
In my opinion, no. I think you can start and get playing fairly quickly. You know, maybe not at a great level, but if you're playing and you're getting out there and you're with friends, you're in the fresh air, you're in a beautiful place like we have here in Phuket, then you can enjoy it, providing you're not annoying other golfers. So as long as you learn the correct etiquette, you're playing at a reasonable speed, you know, beginners can actually get on the course fairly quick. There's a certain level you have to get to. But, you know, I find in my experience, beginners can pick the game up fairly quickly. To get very good at the game, that's a different story.
Different story.
You know, that takes a lot of practice and a lot of work. But, I mean, anybody can really play. And I think it's becoming more accessible across the world now, where people can actually go out and play and try. There's driving ranges everywhere. There's good coaching everywhere now. Good facilities. Less of the snooty kind of old places where they can be quite intimidating.
Yeah, can. Which I think that sort of thing is becoming less and less common now.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
more open.
Yeah, and especially in Phuket, it's a great place to learn because the climate's good. You've got good facilities. There's good golf courses. There's quiet times where you can go out on the course and practice and things. So, I think we're very lucky here. We've got a very good setup in Phuket.
Yeah. And would you say there's a better time to start, or is it any time, any place, really?
If you want to become very, very good and aspirations to be, say, a professional golfer, obviously the younger, the better, like any sport. But for anybody who just wants to play, anytime. I mean, I've, like I said earlier, I mean, I've coached guys, I've had guys in the 70s that are beginners that have come to learn just for a little bit of exercise, and then they've ended up playing 2 or 3 times a week. You know, on the other scale of it, you've got a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old that's starting out. So it's just, that's what makes the game so amazing. And obviously with the handicap system we have, anybody can play against anybody and have a really nice game and nice fun and be out there in the nature and enjoy each other's company. So I think it's for me it's accessible to anybody at any time.
Great. Yeah. The word handicap that you said, for any listeners that are a beginner, could you just give a brief explanation of what that means?
Yeah, in very simple terms, a handicap is based around the level of golf that you're at. So, you know, there's different systems, but, you know, let's say a pro's handicap would be 0, so your score would be your score. It means I could play against you, Chloe. What's your handicap at the moment?
17.
So let's say you're playing off 17. You know, you would be going around a golf course roughly around 17 shots worse than me. So it means I would give you a certain handicap and we can have a game.
So we can be roughly equal.
Yeah, and then it would work out very well. So even if somebody's physically stronger or, you know, or lesser player, you can still play a game against somebody and have a really good match.
But fairly.
And and it makes it very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a great system.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's and that's basically what it is. So players can compete against each other fairly.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And if somebody was listening that has never played golf before, has never practiced, but wants to pick up that club, what advice would you give them?
I would say go out and have fun. It's good to find a good professional, a good coach, you know, that can show you how to start. I mean, that's really important. And then really go out and enjoy it. You know, go down the range and whack some balls around and start to, you know, see it as fun. Get the right guidance. And then as you start to get past certain levels, you can look at that a little bit more seriously. You know, there's plenty of places to play and try golf all over the world. So it's certainly accessible. I think it's affordable as well, better than it probably used to be. There's certainly all different levels of that. So I would say, yeah, get out there and give it a go. You'd be amazed how much fun it is for those that have never tried it.
Yeah. And is there any specific equipment needed?
Yeah, I mean, clubs and, I mean, yeah, that's a good question as well, because you could pretty much start with anything. Obviously, to get the right clubs and be fitted correctly really helps. I mean, we're all different shapes and sizes, and with the technology now, it's good to get club fitting and get the right equipment. But like I said, if you see the right professional from the start or the right coach, they will help you with that.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be the major expense that what people think.
And you can get second-hand clubs nowadays.
Yeah, you can get used clubs. You can get, there's all sorts. Most driving ranges will supply you with clubs to try as well.
Yeah.
So you can. There's no excuse for not getting out there and
No,
having a hit.
no excuse.
Yeah, those that are listening,
Get out there
Yeah, get out there and give it a blast.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned this earlier about, we're really lucky on Phuket and in Thailand in general to have such a widespread golfing scene. And could you explain what it's like over here?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate living here because Thai golf has really evolved over the years. I mean, we've always had fantastic golf courses here, and the climate's absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
And also the Thai golf has really come on leaps and bounds. I mean, from the professional level, the Thai tour's now very, very professional, extremely well run. The prize money's pretty good. So they're developing some wonderful players. And all the other facilities are improving as well. So the level of coaching's got better as well. So I think, I mean, in Phuket, with the climate, people say, oh, well, it rains half the year. But it's very, very rare we get washed out. We're normally sheltering a little bit and we carry on. I mean, you could almost play 365 days a year here if you wanted to. Which when you come from England, I mean, that says a lot, doesn't it?
It's a big change, isn't it?
Yeah, when we used to play in the winter with all those jackets on and jumpers and gloves and hats. And
when you hit the ball, there's like a shock that goes through your hands.
If you hit it badly, yeah.
Yeah, I think this really is a great place for environment, everything.
Yeah, and I know the service is good here. You've got your caddies, you've got, I mean, you're playing golf here at a very, very high level golf courses and a really nice environment and nice climate. And, I have a lot of time for the Thai golf authorities because they have improved things a hell of a lot since I first came here.
Really, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. And do you have a favourite course, Ollie, in Thailand?
Oh, in Thailand.
Or in Phuket?
I have many, to be honest, and they're all different styles. My favourite course in the world I love links golf. So I've played a lot in Scotland and Ireland and England, and on the real coast links I love those old traditional places like you see at St Andrews or your Prestwicks or but out here, I mean, all the courses are fantastic. I mean, as you know, our school program, we go to Laguna Golf Club and they've been very helpful and supportive. We use Loch Palm, Red Mountain, same thing. Mission Hills have been very helpful, and then we've got the Blue Canyon here, the Tigers one on that's two fantastic courses. So we're lucky in Phuket, and for me to pick my favourite, that would depend on who I'm playing with.
Maybe just one that comes to mind.
I like them all, Chloe. I really do. I mean, I think they're all different. They're all really different styles. So I think if you come to Phuket, you've got to play them all.
Right.
And then because every golfer's going to like a different course.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's we're very grateful for the help we get from the golf courses in Phuket for our school and the relationships we have.
Yeah, very lucky.
It's good.
Yeah. And what makes golf so different from any other sport? Why choose golf to play?
I think the fact it's individual and you're sort of playing against yourself, and is one of the factors. I know other sports have that as well, but in golf even more so. The ball's still, you've got to get your mindset right. You've got to prepare well. You've got all sorts of decisions to make. And then you've got to produce this movement to create some power. It's difficult. It's very challenging. But I think, I mean, when I first started playing golf, I was a footballer, and I wasn't the best player, even though I thought I was at the time. I wasn't. But we're still relying on other teammates, aren't we? Whereas in golf, you've really only got yourself to blame. And I know people make excuses and things like that, but you really are fighting or playing against yourself most of the time. Yeah. Which is what we said earlier about the mental side of it. And I think the fact different conditions every day, different courses, what we said earlier, it can be windy, rainy, sunny.
Yeah.
You're just out there in the nature as well, in the most beautiful places. And I think any of the top players in the world I'll tell you, they feel very fortunate the fact they can play golf all over the world in these magnificent places, and it's such a great game for that.
Yeah, going on holiday or
Yeah.
just locally. And I've heard many people say, oh, I played golf once, but it just takes too much time. And I think to myself, but what would you rather do than walk in the outdoors for hours, chat with friends, and just hit this ball around this beautiful golf course? Can't think of anything better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, some golfers would rather be out there all day, and some of them play like they are out there all day, and they're a little bit too slow. They're a bit too slow, those guys, but they are enjoying it. And like you said, it's. I look at it like this. I mean, when I play social golf with my friends, we play most Saturdays with a group of friends, and I absolutely love it. And they're terrible golfers, but we're out there having great fun. Actually, that's a bit harsh. They're not bad, some of them, but it's like it's. We're talking on the way around, we're chatting, it's a social day, and then we're sharing this great game. So it's, for that, it's just a brilliant game to play with your friends, family, whoever.
Yeah, it gives something to look forward to. And I think it's, like you said, it's a social game. It gives a lot of social opportunity to meet people, especially if you're new on the island, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been lucky. I've played golf all over the world, and the friends that we've met along the way. I was very fortunate to have played golf with one of my heroes a few years ago.
Gary Player?
Yeah, and I think he's got the most air miles, out of any human being that's ever lived. And look what golf's done for him and what he's done for the game, and that feeds right down through the system. So wherever you go, you can arrange to play and meet people, and there's golf courses all over the world. Most of them are very friendly and welcoming. So as long as you get to a certain level, it's easy to access other people. So, yeah, I mean, I love it. I think we meet some fantastic people through it, and I feel very fortunate to be involved with golf, really.
Wonderful. And we've been saying that it is a game for life the whole time, but when we maybe think about our whole lives in terms of the length of time, how do we maintain our spirit and our love? Maybe we'll get down about something else in our life. Is golf something that we can turn towards to make things better?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's there's a lot of well-being to golf, isn't there? A lot of meditation, a lot of being out there, and in the nature. You can switch off from life. I've had various students over the years that have had mental issues and things like that, and we found that golf's been very helpful. I've seen some people where golf has actually made them crazy as well, from not understanding the game or not being able to handle that. So it's finding that balance, but definitely helps. I mean, it's if you treat golf the right way, it's there's nothing better than being out there. I mean, I have some friends that are keen surfers, and and they say the same thing. Just being out there on the ocean and the waves as the sun's coming down, it's a similar thing for me for golf. You're out there. I think we've always got to have that gratitude to being fortunate enough to play. No matter how bad the golf is, we can appreciate being out there. So I think it really does help people, especially switch off from the pressures of life.
Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Would you say in those difficult times when things just aren't rolling quite as they used to, that it's okay to take time off and then maybe come back to it when you're ready?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like anything, you can overdo it as well. I mean, you've got to know when to have rest, when to have a break from the game. If it's not going so well, sometimes it's good just to put the clubs away and do something else for a little bit.
Sometimes it is, yeah.
And I think every player needs that, no matter what level you're at. So yeah, it's just common sense then, knowing when to take a break. It's quite a demanding game mentally as well sometimes if you're really training hard. There's only a few % of the golfers that actually do that, but it's you've got to know when to switch off as well.
Listen to your instincts, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah. Or if you're not enjoying it, then perhaps you should question and look at a different way of doing it. So, we work with golfers on that as well. I'd like to see people enjoying the game and improving and practicing hard, but also it might be time to get down the beach and read a book as well, and just have a little break. So you've got to find that balance. Good coach will help with that.
I like what you said about just a different way of doing things, because I think if you're not enjoying it, it doesn't necessarily mean that golf is not for you,
Right.
but maybe you just haven't been introduced the right way of approaching it, of trying it out.
Yeah,
Maybe.
absolutely. And there's a big thing that I work on is sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, our expectations get really too high, or we, you know, oh, I've got this tournament and I've got to do well. This Coach Ollie's going to, you know, be annoyed with me. And what we're trying to do is get away from that, and we prepare really well. And then you've got to just let it happen, you know. And
Right.
I think, like we said earlier about the mindfulness and the mental side, it's trying to stay in that present moment, isn't it? Where you're just enjoying actually being there. Sometimes we forget that.
Yeah. Sometimes we do become a bit caught up with the results.
Yeah, results based, and then we put pressure.
Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to just enjoy it, people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and try your best and concentrate on each shot, and then
Yeah.
you know, switch off till the next shot. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a great there's a great thing that I've been working on with some of our players. I think I might have done this with you actually, but when we actually play golf, it takes what 4 or 5 hours. Should be less really, but for those of you that are slow out there, but we
That's
actually
okay too.
yeah, but we actually only play golf for 10 or 15 minutes in that 4 or 5
Yeah,
hours. The
you
rest
did
of it's
mention that
walking and thinking, and
to me.
so you've got to find ways of enjoying the walk time and the downtime, and ways you can conserve energy so you're concentrating very well on your shots. So I know top players work on that all the time, and I think when you put it like that, there's a lot of social side to it. You know, so choose who you play with wisely, and
Okay.
we make sure we're enjoying the game.
Right. And how do we in those times where maybe it's not working so well for us, then can we resort to other things or different ways
As
to
in
play
on the
golf?
course when you're having a bad day, or you mean just
yeah,
just
on
in
the course, on the
yeah.
mountain.
So I mean that's going to happen all the time, isn't it? And you see some players panic and think the whole world's going to collapse because they've lost a couple of balls in the water, and others react a little bit better. And I think you have to practice that.
Okay.
And I think sometimes I get the blame as well as a coach, for it's that coach's fault for
It's your
changing my
fault.
grip and things like that, which is acceptable. I mean, so I think we have to understand golf is like that. And I think, when you hit bad shots, you've got to almost accept it and move on. If you've got a consistently really bad period, then you've got to get the right advice, and practice the right things, do the right drills, get the right advice, and keep being positive. What's the most important word with anything in life for me is positivity. There's always a way where you can get better. So if you are having a bad spell, it will get better. So seek the right advice. A bit like anything in life, isn't it? Seek the right advice. You can be positive, move forwards, and don't dwell too much on the bad shot that's just happened.
Right.
Easier said than done, of course, but we can work on that.
And finally, what advice would you give to your past self with the benefit of hindsight, Ollie?
Oh, wow. We could be here for a long time.
Turning direction to you.
Personally, I love coaching. I love working with all the kids. I love this school as well. So I could say that I'm very content as a person. I think the situation I'm in at the moment personally is very, very healthy, very good. I'm getting a little bit older, a few aches and pains. But if I was to look back, and if I wasn't interested in being where I was now and wanted to be, say, a tournament player, then I would change things. Then I wish I'd have had the knowledge, the advice that we have now. Working on your mental, your health, your fitness, practicing more. It's staying away from the distractions, which we've all had, I'm sure. Whether it's phones, iPads, other parts of life where you're not training. So I think hindsight's very, very easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm happy where I'm at now. I would have liked to have been a tournament player. I still might have a chance when I start edging towards the seniors, which is one of the reasons I'm training so hard now. I've got a lot of work to do on my game and so on, but that's all part of the challenge. I think if there's one thing I would change as a youngster, would probably be doing a little bit more work on the mental side.
Mental side, yeah.
How to gain more confidence, how to, and I know I know it's easy to say. The top players, some of them, they're very strong, very competitive. Others have really worked at that. So, and it's just finding the right advice, the right support team, and just going for it. Quite often we don't do things, do we? We should get up in the morning and just go for it.
Yeah,
And,
maybe sometimes we hang back. We're worried about things not going as exactly as we plan.
Yeah, and without putting all the pressure, because we see at the school, I think the school has a really good balance here at BISP, where we've got education, which is really the main thing, and then we've got all these fantastic sport academies. But it doesn't necessarily mean you drop your education, you just go gung-ho into the sport. You have to find that balance, and that's the same. It's taken me about 35 years to learn that, and I'm finally getting there in my own life of finding that balance between training really hard, knowing when to rest, and concentrating on other interests as well. I play a bit of guitar, which is like being a beginner at golf. I'm terrible, but that's we need these down times to concentrate on other things as well,
Right.
without all the pressure. So, yeah, it's a good question.
So your 3 takeaways would be the mental side, looking at the mental side of the game, and balancing it with other things in our life.
Absolutely,
and seeking advice.
Seeking the right advice, and I think the other thing I'd add to that is having the right support team around. We don't realise until later in life how much our families do for us, right? Driving kids to school every day, feeding them, taking them to the golf courses, supporting them at tournaments. I mean, the commitment parents and families do. So if you've got that support network and you've got great support from the school, which this school I think is particularly good at.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons I'm here. I think then you've got a great chance of having a very healthy life and becoming very good at sport or academically, whichever path you choose. So, yeah, having that support network's important too.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Ollie. We had a great discussion.
Thanks, Chloe. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, and thanks for having me here.
We just got into a whirlwind of conversation.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you to our listeners for listening. If you're a beginner or you're highly advanced in golf, don't be afraid to get out there and be confident. Find your support network, look for advice, and ultimately keep the balance in your life between golf and other things that you love. We look forward to seeing you next time. But for now, take care.